Hey everyone, I'm Rich. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Canon 90D and how well it's performing in 2022. I've been using it for around 2.5 years now, and with the growing population of mirrorless cameras coming out, there's rumors saying that Canon might stop producing a successor to the 90D and might kill off DSLRs in general. It kind of begs the question, is the 90D worth it in 2022 and beyond? Well, that's not a hard question for me to answer personally, because if you take a look at any true DSLRs in general, they're here to stay. I mean, I've seen some Nikon D series and some old Canon Rebels from 2008 live as long as today. An old buddy of mine is still using a Canon Rebel T2i and takes some phenomenal photos. He hasn't upgraded since. Not sure why he hasn't yet, but kudos to him. Additionally, there are a ton of lenses out there, especially for Canon, that you can pick up for a really cheap price and start shooting some great photos. But let's take a look at what this camera does great after all this time and see if these features are worth continuing it a few more years from now. But before we start, go in the comments down below and just talk to me. Do you have a Canon 90D yourself? Are you looking at getting one? Do you think it's worth it? Just say something. Also, I want you to hit that subscribe button because we talk all sorts of tech content on this channel. You're going to be here for a great time. So with all that being said, let's talk about the Canon 90D. Okay, so I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Canon 90D is a tank. This camera packs so many great features that makes this a phenomenal camera even today. At $1,200 US, you're going to be getting a super solid camera that's more than capable of shooting most content, whether that be music videos, YouTube, wedding photos, or all that great stuff. The detail and vibrancy of the footage you get with this whopping 32.5 megapixel camera produces some freaking sharp eye candy content. Canon's image processing sensor does a great job of balancing color and contrast, giving us a great image that's natural and consistent. A soft yet natural picture is what we're given almost 100% of the time. Canon really nails down the color profile, and that's what I really want to talk about. I typically have my white balance set on auto with some slight color corrections in post, but the raw footage that the 90D produces is far better than any other cameras I've used so far. I mean, let's think about it. Canon has been in the camera industry for a really long time now, and I'm sure that their engineers have really perfected the color profiles, so that's really reassuring to hear. And while this is still a crop sensor camera, I don't believe that will matter too much. I mean, if you have a general sense of what you're shooting on this machine, pairing this lens with like a Sigma 18 to 35mm f1.8 lens makes this a terrific combo for shooting wider shots, or you can pair this up with Canon's favorite telephoto lens like the 18 to 135mm lens, 70 to 200, and all those great camera lenses. They're out in the market, they're not going to lose value, they're here today. Glass is glass. And if you have the 90D, hey, there's nothing to worry about. This is still worth it. Now, when it comes to recording, the Canon 90D can also record up to 4K at 30 frames per second uncropped. And this means your footage won't be any smaller. That's pretty scarce feature that's not featured on a lot of cameras around this price range. Many other cameras around this category crops their 4K footage tremendously, but this one doesn't. I use a 90D for all my projects, and it performs well in almost every scenario, from recording tech videos, weddings, races, vlogs, nature, cityscapes, night or day. The Canon 90D will handle it all. When it comes to mainstream content, I usually shoot at 1080p, but the projects that do need that extra sharp detail, take it up to 4K, and I know this camera can take it. So as you can probably tell, the camera just shoots some phenomenal footage. Additionally, the Canon 90D is rocking its dual pixel autofocus technology, and this is arguably one of Canon's fastest focusing cameras yet, other than the mirrorless EOS R6. Boom, look at my hand. Back to my face. Anything from looking at something far in a distance to focusing something super close, maybe like a flower or a plant. And using this camera, the focusing is crazy fast. But moving on to the design of this 90D, it's beautiful and ergonomic. If we take a look back at the 80D, it was very popular for its build. Many users praise that camera for feeling great in the hand, and the 90D is no different. The body is very much the same as the 80D with some very slight design changes. The size of the body makes it very nice for people of all hand sizes, and the concavity for your fingers to rest deeply and snug on the outside of the camera body feels great. The 90D feels bulky yet serious. The weight is something that I despise just a little bit. I mean, whenever I'm out on the shoot for some clients, it does get a little bit heavy here and there. I usually wear a camera strap around and lug it on my side, but I feel like I can trust the 90Ds purely off of its looks, because it establishes a presence, between you and the client. I mean, if you're going to be working for those shoots, most of my clients will see this camera and automatically think like, whoa, this is pretty grand. This guy knows what he's doing, compared to rather maybe like a small mirrorless one. Also, the added rubber grip that surrounds this camera feels sturdy, premium, and comfy. It doesn't feel nasty like you're gripping something sticky, but it's a solid piece of gear with a very luxurious build. The flip out touchscreen on this camera is also another major reason why this is amazing. This allows me to check myself every single time I record myself making a video. I can see myself right here. The rotating screen has helped me with the positioning of hard to reach areas a lot of times, especially when I want to get, low to the ground. I can, flip the screen just a little bit, and it saves me the trouble of like getting all the way down to see what I'm looking at. It's a solid feature that Canon nailed down right for the longest time. It's a game changer. Seriously, I'm not sure why a lot of other cameras don't implement this to their system as much, but with that flip out touchscreen, how's the user interface? I gotta say, I love Canon's menu. All of the settings and adjustments are spaced out right and are very easy to navigate. Anyone with some Canon experience can use Canon's cameras because of how similar they are. Something like using a T3i way back in like 2012 feels familiar to using a 90D now. Even when I'm shooting with my friend's ES-R6, I mean, the menu icons are still the same and familiar, so that's really great to hear. And also, the articulating touchscreen just looks very sharp. Everything from the menu icons to the playback photos really make me think that this screen is like 4K or something. It's really dense and it's modern. So when you pair this camera with some cheap lenses like the 18 to 55mm or the nifty 50, it does a great job. The 90D feels light, ready to travel, and takes much better pictures than your typical phone or old DSLR. But when you pair this camera with a premium lens like the Sigma 18 to 35mm lens, which I have right here, I think this is a killer setup for almost everything. This combo is way too sharp, and I'll show you some footage right here. This camera also pairs well with Canon Connect, which is an app you can download on your phone. It's a really cool feature that's on most Canon cameras. You can use Bluetooth or Wi-Fi to connect, so you can view and transfer your photos anywhere in a couple of minutes. You can also use a remote control from the camera from afar too, which is a really cool feature, except it's kind of buggy, it's not perfect. It can take a couple of minutes to connect, which kind of is gruesome. But whenever I have some downtime, like I'm eating or I'm in the car waiting, I can just transfer the photos while I'm doing that, and I can have it appear right on my smartphone. So I really like that feature as well. So, is it worth it at $1,200 US? This is definitely a hefty purchase. I did a quick Google search on DSLR and found that many of the cameras that were listed on top of Google results were like these cheap Rebels and mirrorless cameras. You don't really see the 90D as much. It is kind of sad seeing this king of a camera not trend as much as it did with the 80D back in like 2015 to 2018. Vloggers like Casey Neistat love this camera. I think the 90D is worth it in 2022 and beyond, with a few exceptions. Like I said, you're basically getting the cream of the crop features on a DSLR with 4K video recording, high megapixel count, and a flip out touchscreen, to name a few, but I think it's time for those that still have the 90D to hold on to this piece of history for as long as possible. I will be using this camera for a very long time. I don't plan on upgrading it anytime soon. It can do pretty much everything that I needed to do, but if you're looking at buying this camera, I would recommend trying to find this at a discount price, maybe buying secondhand, eBay, because at this point I would try and find maybe a different camera, maybe like a mirrorless one, just to be in the current state of technology. But if you're a diehard Canon fan, maybe you want to upgrade from any Canon's previous crop sensor cameras, and you have a lot of great lenses that you don't want to part out just yet, I think the 90D is a great choice for that. So in conclusion, I really like this camera a lot. It's kind of sad to see that this DSLR is kind of fading out of its popularity, but I still think the 90D is still holding strong, brother. Let's go. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. There's going to be a lot more content on the way regarding the tech, cameras, and all that good stuff. If you haven't already, go in the comments below. Did you buy this camera yet? Did you have any of the older versions like the 80D, 70D, 60D? Let me know what you think about this. But anyway, that's all I got for today's video. So thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, I'll see you then.